Guys, I just came across this on Twitter, and I feel compelled to talk about this. They are quite literally making statues to victimhood. I want you guys to look at this. They're tearing down statues of Robert E. Lee and Southern leaders, any white man that has basically ever existed. Even Abraham Lincoln statues have been torn down. And what do they put up instead? They put up statues of people that aren't actually virtuous, haven't done anything. George Floyd didn't do anything besides get killed. He was killed. Do you put up statues to people that are killed, and that's the only thing that they've done? Of course not. They aren't celebrating merit. They aren't commemorating merit. They aren't trying to signal that true merit is what matters. Victimhood is what they want to celebrate and purport to people. When they walk by, they don't want people to look at a statue of a soldier on a horse liberating America from tyrannical oppressors or hoisting a flag. No, they want people to see someone who was able to embody victimhood to the point of inciting riots and justifying insane, sadistic people who burned down cities, burned down restaurants, committed looting because one person died. And now there's new evidence being submitted to the Supreme Court that George Floyd died because he was on drugs. If we are going to truly analyze this, taking away what happened to George Floyd, who was he? Who was George Floyd? He was a drug-addicted criminal who had been arrested numerous times, including for pointing a gun at a pregnant woman. That's who George Floyd is, and they're putting up statues to him. Now, why are they trying to... What is the deeper motivation by the left in doing this? They are attempting to mock the notion of merit. They're trying to mock the notion of objective merit, and they're pedestalizing victimhood status. That is exactly in keeping with Marxist philosophy. They are showing to you, admitting to you, I mean, if you see a statue like this, you'd think that the person was impressive, that they did something, that they, I don't know, and if it was a statue of a black man, you're probably going to, on a park bench, you're probably going to assume that he was a part of civil rights or that he led people in civil rights. George Floyd was a drug-addicted criminal. He didn't do anything like that. He just died of a drug overdose based on new evidence that we're seeing that's going to the Supreme Court. And even if he didn't, and he was murdered, we don't put up statues to people who were just murdered. There has to be virtue, but he didn't have any virtue. So what is their justification? They want you to be a victim. They want you to receive the counterfeit virtue that they dole out to you as a result of adhering to their ideology, of saying, I'm a victim. I'm being oppressed, because if you're oppressed, you're a good person. That's why they have the hierarchy of victimhood, the victimhood Olympics, where they compete to see who's the best person. The way that you measure if you're a good person according to the radical left, it's so perverse, it's so disgusting, and I saw it in college, I saw it in the radical leftist high school that I went to. A white man, no matter how adhered to the ideology he is, can never be as intrinsically virtuous as a black woman. It's literally impossible, and that's because they take the ideology of intersectionalism, they break it down and say each category is going to define identity and define virtue. And the reason it defines virtue is because it defines oppression. That's how they use the Marxist ideology to say black woman is more oppressed than white woman. Therefore, black woman is better than white woman. That is perverse. That is evil. I'm remembering, it's coming back to me, all the disgusting displays of Marxism that I witnessed and contemplated throughout college and high school. But it's true. Their perversion is true, but it's born of a resentment for morality. It's born of a resentment for the good, the objective good that judges them. The objective world renders the proclamations they make about the world inert and renders them self-evidently incoherent. They're making statues pedestalizing victimhood. Compare this to the old America. People say that we're near the end of the American empire, and I can understand why they say that. I hope that we can weather the storm. But our old statues used to be to Abraham Lincoln, virtuous man, freed the slaves, one of the best presidents we've ever had. George Washington, established America, first president, virtuous man, led the resistance and the war against the tyrannical oppressors from Europe. The list goes on. Civil rights leaders, Martin Luther King. There are so many great statues. Now, who does the left do? This shows their perversion. And by the way, I'll put up a few pictures of the left. You can always tell that they're perverted, including this recent judge, by the way, that's going after Trump, persecuting him, even though a federal court ruled that it's bollocks, basically. But they all look perverted. They are perverted. Their ideology is actually dedicated on perversion. Perversion is twisting something that is good and virtuous and making it into something that is ugly and deformed. That's what they're doing. They don't have true virtue because their ideology, when analyzed with the mechanisms that reveal truth, like logic or reason, reveal that their ideology is meritless. So that means that they don't have merit. So what do? They have to have to disparage the notion of investigating ideas, which is why they attack free speech. They have to say there's no such thing as right and wrong. That's postmodernism. Got something in my eye. And this is all to centralize power around the ideology, because that's all they believe in, by the way, is power. There's no such thing as competence, according to them, because that implies meritocracy. They can't fathom competence, which is why their worldview is so broken, by the way. They can't fathom competence. They only care about power, so they just condense power to say, we will dole out virtue. Because their ideology contradicts reality, because it's incoherent, the only thing that they can necessarily care about is power, not competence. Because competence requires meritocracy, and the way that you tell if someone's competent or merit or warrants merit is by using mechanisms of coherence, thinking rationally, logically, looking at the world logically. But when you do that, their ideology falls to pieces. And so does the apparatus that they use to tell the black woman that you're better than the white woman. Just because you're a black woman, you're definitely better than the white man. He's the lowest class in Marxist identity politics, in the intersectionalist insistences made by these deranged people. And they are deranged. Their faces are deranged, their bodies are deranged, their actions are deranged, their axioms are fundamentally deranged. And that's how you see disgusting displays like this. Putting up statues praising victimhood of a literal drug-addicted criminal.